Hello again, nerds. More reaction time. Back to music because that is the those are the ones that I feel the most comfortable doing reactions to, unless it's Mortal Kombat related. I don't know. I guess there's a couple other ones. Anyway, thank you for joining me right here on A Nerd Reacts. I am the nerd, and we are reacting to some Atreyu today. We have this is a really old song. The Atreyu record "Baptize" has come out. And I still haven't listened to it because I wanted to get at least one more reaction video out of it. So this is that one. It's the Warrior song that's featuring Travis Barker is the one that I've decided to do as the last reaction from this new record before I just devour the new record because I love Atreyu. Anyway, so history with the band. Oh, actually, let's just get this. Before we get any further into this video, let's get a couple of things out of the way. First, if you want to listen to this song or watch this video in whole without my commentary, then go do that. This is not the place for that. This is a reaction and analysis video. We're here for a conversation, not for a watch party. I'm going to be stopping this video, talking over certain parts, and replaying certain parts, so get used to it. Second, my analysis is my opinion. My opinion comes from a place of knowledge. I have over 30 years of musical training and experience, 20 years as a professional musician and producer, and almost 10 years as a video producer and director. I know what I'm talking about. All that being said, we will be discussing the performance of the song by the musicians, production of the song by the producer, and production of the video, should that apply, by the director and anyone else involved. Now, I return you to your regularly scheduled reaction video. Thanks, nerds. Yeah, so there you go. That's the things. So the next section, now that we have the disclaimer out of the way, my history with Atreyu is I love Atreyu. I have been a big fan of theirs ever since Fractures. Not Fractures. It was Suicide Notes. I found Fractures after Suicide Notes, but really dug that record as well. Suicide Notes was obviously kind of the one that got a lot of their fans in, and then most of the people who know Atreyu know them because of The Curse, and then that was the one where they really, really blew up. So they went on hiatus. They came back and did 2 records, and or was it 3 records? Long Live and the one with the goofy skull that I was wearing the t-shirt for yesterday that I got to shoot, but I can't remember the name of the record, and I don't have notes for this. Whatever. So they put out at least those 2. I'm pretty sure it's just the 2. And this is their 3rd one since their hiatus, and this is the first one without their vocalist, Alex. We have done 1 reaction video to this. We've definitely talked about it in the news show. If you have not caught the news show, then definitely I do twice weekly a nerd news rundown. And music is the first section of every news show, so check it out, won't you? So I'm very interested to see what the rest of the record sounds like. That first track that they released called Save Us was phenomenal, was definitely a lot heavier and more aggressive than I was expecting. Had some like Queen elements to it, which I also dug, so this one, I'm very interested to see if it continues with that kind of intensity, but also to see how they collaborated with freaking Travis Barker. So I guess that kind of brings us directly into expectations for the song. I expect this is another short one, 3 minutes, according to the timestamp on the video. So it kind of a little bit more along those lines of the kind of punk rock edge that they started out with back in the day, but they've never been much for super short songs. And that Save Us song and this song are probably the shortest that I can recall from them ever, honestly. So I guess I have to take a look at the rest of the track listing on the album to see how it compares. But yeah, so expectations are a little more that edge that we got in Save Us, but also some fancy pants drumming stuff going on, I feel like, because Travis is a freaking drummer. Very interested to see what Mark brings to the table vocally, because it's Mark and Brandon now doing vocals instead of Brandon and Alex. Music video wise, judging by the thumbnail again, it's also just a performance video, so I doubt there's going to be anything to talk about there, but if there is, we will. All of that being said, I think that's where we're at. Before we jump into the actual reaction of the thing, just going to remind you to subscribe, because that's the best thing you can do for the channel right now. Just need those subscriptions, because I'm working my way up, right? So let's transition the scene and this video.
I am a warrior. I walk with the gods. I am a warrior. I will never stop. Yeah! Sometimes I feel like I'm falling so fast.
This is more of that stuff that had people going, "Oh, they're just like Imagine Dragons now," because they have dynamics.
Attack me with knives, cut me up in the night. I am a warrior. I walk with the gods. I am a warrior. I will never stop. What doesn't kill me makes me stronger. I am the wolf. I am the hunger. I am a warrior.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about microphone usage, because that, I feel like, was a great example of Brandon knowing exactly where his microphone is when he's recording vocals, because it did not sound like that was two separate takes, but there were definitely two separate vocal styles that we just listened to. So I'll tell you what I mean. Right here. Nope. There we go. Let's go back here. So he's got this, and then this, and it's a smooth transition back into that higher, more elevated kind of tone. So one thing that aggressive metal words, one thing that a lot of aggressive producers who produce music by more aggressive style bands. I'm sure there's like hip-hop wise, even like Death Grips, they probably do something along this line as well, where you have two very distinctive vocal deliveries from one vocalist. And a band like Atreyu, you would probably do this for each vocalist back when they had two mainline vocalists. You record the more aggressive style stuff in one take, or in however many takes it takes to get to the end. So you have one vocal track on the recording that is all of the aggressive vocals. And then you have a separate vocal track that you blend in with that does all of the melodic or spoken vocals. Oftentimes even, those are going to be three separate tracks. If the song has a spoken vocal, then that's going to be separate, because you EQ all of those deliveries differently depending on the vocalist. I mean, obviously they have to be able to do it live, otherwise they're not worth your time. But there are definitely different things you do in the studio to make those things stand out in the mix. All of that being said, I feel like we have potentially only two main vocal tracks. I mean, obviously there's going to be overdubs and there's going to be punch-ins and so on and so forth, but for Brandon's vocals, it sounds like he has two, but that line right there is the man knowing how to use a microphone. So microphone placement when you're in a studio, if you're doing something where you're so loud and you're got this big sing and you have a distance between your mouth and the microphone. If you're doing something that was a little more intimate sounding, like when he was on the floor in the video just there, then you're right up on the microphone. You have much less distance because you're not projecting as much. So the microphone diaphragm, in order to make those levels sound good. Now, this is also very likely the producer knowing what he's doing with this kind of vocal as well. But that's the transition from his more intimate sounding vocal back into the louder vocal is so seamless. I don't think that it's two separate, at least that part of it is two separate tracks. I think that is just one track, and that's just Brandon knowing what he's doing with a microphone. So let's go back and listen to it one more time.
Makes me stronger, I am the wolf, I am the hunger, I am a warrior. I walk with the gods. No, I won't
Nope.
take
Right here.
never stop. What does it
This.
kill me? Makes me stronger, I am the wolf, I am the hunger, I am a warrior. I walk
Like, you can hear the distance from his mouth to the diaphragm of the microphone. There is an audible difference of how close and how far away he is. And that's a really cool little vocal transition. Like, a good vocalist can do that kind of stuff. And I've always stood by the fact that Brandon is a phenomenal vocalist. I love Alex's vocals too, don't get me wrong. I definitely miss him in this band, but I'm impressed. I am impressed. Oops.
with the gods. No, I won't take no for an answer.
See, this is a separate vocal track.
All the lies I told myself to survive. I am a warrior. I walk with the gods. I am a warrior. I will never stop. What doesn't kill me makes me stronger. I am the wolf. I am the hunger. I am a warrior. I walk with the gods.
Oh, here we go. Here's some drumming. This is like some marching band drumming, though. That's exactly what that is. That is, in the studio, they brought in a marching band set of some, I don't know who's playing it, obviously, but maybe that's Travis Barker's contribution. But like, listen to the difference in the room sounds. The drums on here, because again, Atreyu's been doing this for a long time. They've worked with some great producers. The mainline drum sound for this song is very boomy and very in your face, and not a whole lot of reverb on it, which is an interesting choice, but I'm digging it. And then we get that marching band drum sound that is, it sounds like they're in a little room, but they're using a room mic. They're not using an instrument mic. So there's not, it doesn't sound like anyway. It doesn't sound like there's a microphone on those marching drums. It sounds like there's a microphone near those marching drums, which is another example of microphone placement. You're going to get a very dramatically different sound, whereas the other drums, there is a microphone in the kick drum, very likely. If not in, then very, very close to the kick drum. But those marching drums probably is a difficult thing to do. Maybe the producer just had an idea that he wanted to experiment with and just use the room mic or something, but that is dramatic. Let's go back and listen. And it is... It sounds... So it sounds like they're combining two different drum takes on that, because we have what could potentially be a digital drum set or just a different EQ on the main drum set, because it's a lot more verby. Maybe it was in the room with the marching drums, and the microphone was just close to it, but there's definitely a little bit more verb to the kick. I don't understand the breakup, the sonic breakup. I mean, it does keep it interesting, so maybe it's to keep people listening. Even though this is a short song, I don't understand. Definitely not the direction I would have gone as the producer. Let's just say it that way. Those are two different vocal tracks. Oh, here we go. So something that I've always loved about Atreyu is their groove, and that song definitely is heavy doses of groove. Also really dig the more aggressive bits, but there's not a whole lot of that in here. We did get a little bit of Mark backing vocals, the screamy stuff, and even a moment of Brandon doing a little bit more aggressive vocal style. But we have another 15 seconds of this video. Let's see. Oh, just congratulating him for taking the beating. All right, so yeah, kind of what I expected. I did expect it to be a little bit more intense, so there's that. Not a whole lot musically to figure out, so the bass didn't get much of a workout here. But yeah, that was great. I'm still excited to listen to this record. I feel like this has tempered my expectations a little bit, though, since this is the second song that they released. So now I'm not going to expect this record to be as intense as the Save Us song, though I do love that Save Us song. I bet I would put money on, unless there's a more aggressive track on there, that's going to be my favorite track on the record, but love it. Atreyu is not one to disappoint, even when they do go a little softer than expected. That is where I'm going to drop this one. What did you guys think of the song? What do you think of Atreyu? Let me know. We'll have the conversation. Do you appreciate the direction they're going now that they don't have Alex on main vocals as well? I feel like that's a good conversation to have, because Alex is definitely missed as far as I'm concerned, but I still love the music that they're putting out. So let's have that conversation. I'm gonna cut it off there. Click or tap one of the boxes that you see on the screen, because that's the other stuff that goes on the channel. GenerallyNerdy.net is the website. Patreon.com/GenerallyNerdy to support and get these reaction videos early, plus a bunch of other content behind the paywall. Yeah, heading out. Before I go, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.